Welcome to Conversations with Toi, a blogcast tackling life one episode at a time. This is the time to air out life's craziest moments. This space is all about speaking about life's hang-ups and ways in which we can leave better than when we started. Topics are all about ways we can find space to be better in life, love, mental space, and health.
Happy Friday. I hope that you have had the most amazing week and that you're going to have another amazing weekend ahead because we have gotten to Friday. We've made it. And although we don't live for Fridays, we can still be excited for Fridays. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Toi. I am Toi, your podcaster. I wear a lot of hats. I'm a content creator, influencer, freelance writer, blogger. I do a lot of things, but the hats that I love wearing the most is being a wife and a mother of 3 amazing children. So welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I do not take it lightly at all. You could be listening anywhere, but you chose to listen here on my slice of the pie of the internet streets, and I appreciate that. On this podcast, I talk about all things mental health and wellness, as well as what's happening in these internet streets, because a lot of things happen that does affect our mental health and wellness. So if that is your vibe, if you're like, listen, I need to have a conversation about the things that I've been seeing, things that I've been thinking when it comes to mental health and wellness, I pull my information, the topics right from the internet. These are conversations that have been happening this week, things that people have brought up, things that I'm seeing, because when you listen, you can tell what you're into by your search. So I'm always looking for things that are motivating, looking for things that are encouraging, looking for things that are doing that. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't see a couple salacious things here and there, but when I am on the internet, my seconds of the internet pie, I am looking for all things. And when I see things, I like to bring it to the podcast. Please forgive me for not, making an announcement that I was even taking a mental break. I didn't even realize I needed one. That's how life works. And you know what? I think I'm going to stop apologizing and just say, hey, I'm back and we're here and let's rock out, because everyone, I encourage you to take a break, even from the things that you love, because you need to rejuvenate, you need to reset, and that's what I'm all about. So because of that, I am here, I am back. So let's get into what I have been seeing when it comes to mental health and wellness, especially this week. One of the biggest things that I have seen, I have had this conversation before. I think the last episode I talked about this. When you need to go no contact with family and or friends, what your steps are, why you might decide to do it. Everybody has their reasons. But this week, the conversation has steered that therapists are the ones leading people to go no contact, and therefore encouraging people to be self-centered, to be only concerned about themselves, rude and inconsistent to the poor family members that are caught in the no contact wave. Does that even make sense? But we're going to talk about that. I want to talk about that because I want to talk about the conversations about the selfishness that people are encouraging, that are saying it's happening when people go no contact. So I am going to share this from my perspective and my perspective only, and the things that I have talked to with even my own therapist. And I'll give you an update about what I'm learning about myself in therapy, the things that I am not applying, the things that I need to apply more, and just different things that I feel like we need to have conversations about. But before I do that, let's catch you up. I am just loving the summer. We are in July. Summer is almost over within, relatively next month or so, because people are going to start going back to school. I am in the beginning stages of celebrating my oldest as she's starting to get ready for graduation. Now I know graduation is next year. However, she's a senior this year, so there's a lot of senior activities. Just booked her senior photo, so I was crying a little bit inside. I didn't cry out loud. And just a lot of things that I'm dealing with that, because anybody who knows, if you've had a senior, you know that means it's going to be hella expensive. So my money is already set for all the things that need to be done. We went on vacation. I am still doing content creation here in Philadelphia. I'm taking a step out this week to do some content creation in New York. We went to New York this past Sunday. I'm going to New York next week, adding a couple of things into the plate, traveling by train, just enjoying the experience and expanding, because there's no reason why I keep missing events in New York because I was like, oh, I don't want to go. Or it's not that I don't even want to go. It's more like, oh, I'm not going. I'll just, wait it out. And then getting FOMO when you see the people that are at the event that you got invited to, right? So again, I just want to say that I am also a person who is very open about their journey with mental health. And sometimes my biggest thing isn't about showing up at places. It's telling my mind, my brain, like I can show up, like it's okay to do so. So again, I deal with anxiety, and even though there's plenty of places where I feel like I've gone before, I get anxiety when I'm in new spaces. For instance, I went to this new, everybody was raving about the Buttery. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's here in Philadelphia. And this is actually kind of outside of Philadelphia. So I believe there's one in Philly, and I went to the one that was outside of Philly, right? Everybody was talking about the Buttery, the Buttery, the Buttery. So I was seeing all the stuff on my timeline. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to spend my own money, not even do it as a content creator. I'm just going to go, show up, and see. I get in there. It was great. It was a great experience. However, I will say my anxiety hit immediately because the issue was that I was not able to, like they didn't have it clear. Like you're supposed to go in, walk all the way to the back. They didn't say, okay, when you sit down, they'll bring you your food, give you this card, bring you your food. Then they pick up all your stuff. I'm looking to put my trash away because, I was raised right, all the things. And I'm sitting there, it's like, do I get up? Do I not get up? I was like irritated by that. So again, when I'm in new spaces, it could be a new restaurant, it could just be in different places, my anxiety levels will go up. If I'm working with a new PR, let's say I get invited to an event is usually broadcasted by a PR. I'm working with a new PR, don't know them, never worked with them. You show up to their event, you don't know what to expect. Some PRs, every PR does not work the same. All companies don't work the same. And again, that anxiety builds up. And so when people see my posts, like I was out yesterday and somebody's like, oh, I love your content, you're always doing stuff. And I'm like, thank you so much. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you have no idea the real struggle of being in a place and not understanding, like, okay, who's going to be there? Who all over there? Like, who's all over there? And then once you get past that, it's like, okay, I'm in this new space. I'm in this new place. Now what? What's the breakdown of all the things? And again, if you're looking at people's content and you're saying to yourself, oh, they're doing it, a lot of times people are doing it scared. I know I am one. I'm one that will do it scared. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it that way. And again, I have to say that these are the types of things that I think people who have these mental health issues are dealing with all the time. It's not that people want to not live their lives. It's like while you're living your life, you're still trying to figure out how to do just exactly that because it's not always easy. But I have been enjoying my therapy. I go almost once a week, I would say. Yeah, once a week. And it's been beneficial. Some of it has been with my husband as couple therapy. Some of it's been individual. And it's been helping me to figure out my thoughts, my thought process around all the things that deal with myself, just anything that I have on my plate. And I have been trying to do my best to one, come very boldly, very honestly with my therapist. Because sometimes, and I have to say this very openly, if you are in therapy, two things. Therapy is not a fix if you're not willing to do the work. That's number one. Number two, the other issue with therapy is that your therapist can only give you advice according to the information that you give. So if you go into therapy saying, I don't want them all in my business, and then you don't say anything, it's a problem. So if you're considering, okay, this is my time, I'm going to go to therapy, I think this is a great tool, that's great. But you need to show up as your most authentic self. You need to be very clear and be very honest with your therapist. There's two people you should be honest with. I mean, there's a lot of people you should be honest with, but let's give you two, your doctor and your therapist. Neither one can help you if they don't have all the information. They only give you advice according to the information that they have, I should say, that comes from you. So you never want to play with at any point with your therapy sessions. You want to get in there and do all the things. And although therapy has gotten a lot cheaper, and I'll say that especially if you have insurance, don't get in there wasting your copay and not doing what's need to be done. Like, don't do that to yourself. Like, immediately take care of yourself. Immediately show up and do the things that you need to do. But let's talk about the conversation that I saw. I saw this on TikTok where people were stating that when a person decides to go no contact, that they are operating from a place of selfishness. Let me explain this again according to what I've experienced. Whenever a person of any person goes no contact, it's not a decision that they want to do. It's not like they wake up and decide this is going to do great. I'm going to go no contact. This is everything I ever wanted, because the purpose of no contact is because the person that you're dealing with doesn't want to acknowledge the wrong that they have done, and their wrong is causing you harm. It's causing you continual harm. It's almost like when you go to Thanksgiving dinner and you go there and your aunt and your grandmom and everybody's calling you fat and they're talking about your lack of love life or whatever the case may be, or your choices, and everybody's just like dump piling on you. And so you continuously show up to Thanksgiving dinner knowing that you're going to feel a certain way when you leave. You go in there excited about just holidays in general, and when you leave, you feel depleted. You feel like somebody is stripping you of your dignity. You're sad, you're angry, you're upset, and you just continue to show up to this Thanksgiving dinner because it's tradition. And there are a lot of people who experience that. They do this all the time. And we are taught as children that this is behavior is acceptable. When you see somebody, especially in the Black community, they'll say, "Hey girl, you getting a little big, you getting a little chunky." And just, if you can't say hello, then don't say nothing to me, because asking or coming and comment about my weight as if somebody doesn't know how big they are is asinine, right? But in the thought process of saying that someone is selfish because they have gone no contact is crazy to me. Think about it from this perspective. A child goes no contact with their mother. Your mother should be a source of resource for you. It should be a safe haven. You should feel like you're loved. You are treated with all the things, and you don't have that. Your mother isn't like that. She tears you down at every whim. Maybe she also didn't raise you, but you're still trying to build a relationship with her. And every chance that she gets, she dogs you. Every chance she gets, she mistreats you. Every chance she gets, she does all these things. And so you keep taking the phone calls. You keep taking the abuse. You keep showing up and showing up and showing up. There was a viral video of this young man, and I don't know how old he was. Looks like he might have been in his 20s. His mother did not raise him, and every time that he has reached out to her has been problematic. She sat there and told him, "I never wanted you. I don't even know why you're here for lunch. I hate you. I this, I that." And people expect for him, because that's his mother, is for him to continue to show up. And maybe one day she would treat him with love. And maybe one day she would treat him with respect. Now, let me ask you this. Is it selfish for him to continue showing up, allowing her to berate him, allowing her to strip him of his dignity, allowing her to continue to treat him as if she was like an uncommon person that she had never even met on the street? It's okay for him to just continue to show up, but it's not okay for her to do what she's doing, and we just have to continue to show up because she is the mother. Well, people are not doing that. The reason for no contact is to protect yourself from hurt, protect yourself from pain, and to give yourself the opportunity to thrive, to give yourself the opportunity to heal. Some people go no contact and it's temporary. They may need the strength to get together, and in that time frame, maybe that other person has gotten themselves together. But on holidays, on birthdays, on all these different occasions where you would want a mother there, people who have gone no contact, and I'm only using mothers as an example, are wishing that that parent was there, but they don't want that parent to just simply be there for the sake of being there. They want them to be there in a capacity that is palatable for both, right? And so when I hear people say that people who go no contact are selfish, sometimes you do have to have selfish moments when you're taking care of you. Because if you're dealing with someone who isn't even concerned about how they're treating you, they're not concerned about how they're misguiding you. They're not concerned about how they're basically emotionally and mentally abusing you. Why do people feel like it's okay to continue to allow people to do that for the sake of relationship? When I went no contact with some members of my dad's side of the family, my stepfather's side of the family, a lot of people thought that I was being mean and I was being rude, and that, we should just work it out, just continue to come around. And if you say you forgive me, then you should continue showing up. But I learned in therapy, after my therapist got on me for the parts that I played and had me work on the things that I needed to work on, that just because I've forgiven someone doesn't mean that I have to give them access. Giving them access to me to continue in the same levels of behavior is ridiculous, and I wasn't going to be a participant of my own demise. So I made the conscious decision, very much temporary. And the reason why I say very much temporary, because although that no contact lasted for years, think about it. Even years is still a small bucket compared to a full life. I could still be no contact. I could go no contact till Jesus came back. The point of it is that I did what was best for me. And if that is selfish, sometimes putting yourself as a priority needs to happen. I think what happens when you go no contact with people, and what they'll do is they'll make you the villain. Well, you know how she is. She's just being extra. She's doing the most. She's doing this and she's doing that. And she claims that she's forgiven us. She should just be moving on. Moving on and having access are two different things. I'm moving forward with my healing. I'm moving forward with things. And even if somebody doesn't understand it, I have to do what's best for me. And this selfishness part does come into play because you have to be selfish about how you love on yourself, how you care for yourself. You shouldn't be so willing to put yourself in these very hard and undetermined situations. I was the type of person, as a tourist, that I have given so many people so much leeway. People say, I'm sorry, I show up. They do it again. I say, it's okay. I just pray about it, love on it, and I still showed up and I still showed up. Let's also take in consideration that some of this trauma that I was experiencing when I went no contact also had to deal with the fact that I was still dealing with trauma from my childhood. Again, my stepfather is my stepfather. He's raised me my whole life, but he is still my stepfather. I found out in the most ridiculous way that anybody could was because I was being nosy, and my parents had sent me back to school with some papers, and my real father's name was on the paperwork, and that's how I found out. Now, somebody would just be like, well, you found out, at least you knew. How traumatic is it to think that this man that was in my life and had been raising me my whole life wasn't my father? So now the question is, who is he? And so as I came into his side of the family, they didn't even like my mother. They didn't like my mother because now she came into the picture with twins. And now he became basically a glorified father practically overnight. A man who was in his 20s, living his life in the military, having no care in the world. Now he's instant family to this woman with her two children. And now my mother is the enemy. And because my mother was the enemy, the children that came from her was the enemy as well. And I know that somebody who's listening to this, and especially if they're from my dad's side of the family, will say things like, no, we always treated you all the same. That's actually not the case. I remember very vividly my mother having a conversation with one of my aunts telling them, if you take my children, she was the only one my mom would let us go with. If you take my children, you have to treat them all the same. Why? Because there were little innuendos that were happening, little conversations that were happening. Well, that's not there. That's Rhonda's girls. Do you know how hard it is to be a child that heard those words come from adults that should not have said those things in front of me? Even if that was how they felt, they should have had that conversation with my father. They should have had that conversation with my mother, but they would have those conversations openly, and they would say things. They would do little things. You could always tell that there was a difference. And so when I got older and started experiencing things after I had had a child, see, it's one thing when I'm a child and I can't do anything about it, but once I became grown and started having my family, there was no way I was going to continue to allow the behavior to continue. So I decided to do a no contact. And that went into place after a huge blow up and a fight with multiple members of my stepfather's side of the family. And I did what was best for me. Because what was the thing? Like, I know that a lot of people think that because my sister and I are twins, that we operate the same. My sister is a little bit more timid when it comes to the interactions with them. I am not. I am the Knuck of You Buck coalition. I am my mother's daughter. And I can understand why a lot of folks didn't like my mother, because my mother didn't take no crap. But my mother's childhood and upbringing, you had to be straight to the bone. You had to be straight to the cuff. You couldn't come in there tiptoeing and stuff, because the stuff that she had experienced, the stuff that she was around, was some hardcore stuff. My mother raised me on the notion that you don't sell wolf tickets. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And my mother also told me the people who talk the most ain't really about that life. So my dad's side of the family, everybody does a lot of talking, and my mother was not about that. My mother was swing and ask questions later, ask for forgiveness. Like, my mom just was straight to the cuff, and I learned how to do the same. Now I had to learn how to do it in the right situations. I had to learn how to use it appropriately, but that's the type of stock that I come from. And so I had to take the decision, like, I will pull up. I am the type of person that you can talk as much as you want to, but at one point I'm going to get in my car and then I'm going to pull up. right? At one point, I'm going to get in my car and we're going to have to stop talking. We're going to have to be about that life. Now, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I'm putting my hands on somebody, but the anger that I felt at this last blow up that I had with them, and this was several people, this was like over time. And it just mounted up and mounted up, and it was just becoming too much, because if I have to now know that I have to now go into my bag to get my bail money, and I have children to think about, it was time to retreat. It was time to take a break. And again, I have said this numerous times, and anybody in my dad's side of the family can go back and listen to all of that. I have said plenty of times, when I started therapy after those last raws of blow up that took place years ago, when I went to therapy, my goal was to let the therapist know so she could tell me how bad they were and how bad they mistreated me. But here's what I found. I found myself. As much as I could say the things that they did were wrong, it was inconsiderate. It was rude. You don't do things to children. People grow up and they never forget. They, like we've all heard, people may not remember what you said, but they remember how you treated them, right? And that's very true. I'm a 45-year-old woman. I can tell you who said it, what I had on when they said it, and how it made me feel when it was said at 45. And every day I'm still choosing to show up. Every day I'm still choosing to do the things that are appropriate for myself, my family, my community, all different things. But when I took that break, it was because I needed that time to heal. And I could not heal in their presence. I could not heal while I'm still showing up to family functions, knowing you're going to do whatever. I even had one of the members, like a great aunt, that said some disrespectful things to my children based on the color of their skin. Now, everybody in my family is black. Everybody in my family has different nationalities. Some Spanish folk in there, some Asian folk in there. There's all kind of folk up in there. And she was a colorist. So she had to talk about the blackness of my children's skin. I immediately pulled my kids from that environment, because I will not allow them to think that it's okay. Why would I allow that to happen? But you know what everybody said? Instead of correcting her, which they weren't going to do because she's considered an elder, they were like, LaToy, well, you know how she is. Yes, great. She might be that way, but I will not allow my kids to hear that. My kids were very young. You could say, oh, well, they wouldn't have known anything, but my oldest would have, because she was at the age of knowledge. She understood comments. She understood how that, and I refused to allow my kids to sit in a situation like I had to. See, my dad is a great peacemaker. He loves to make the peace. My mom is a Knuck if you buck coalition before she even knew Knuck before you buck is even going down, right? Knuck if you buck is even going down. But between the two of them, they were teetering between, trying to figure things out, speaking up for yourself. I understand that you cannot allow people to sit in the presence. Like, I can't allow my kids to stay in a disrespectful situation when you have the option to leave. And I took that option that day and left with my children because I didn't want them to ever hear that comment. What I am saying to you is, if you think that going no contact is an easy fix, you're wrong. You remember them on holidays. You remember them on your birthday. You remember the people on certain high occasions. You remember days that also are anniversaries of some trauma that you've experienced. Going no contact is never a good thing. People beat themselves up. I saw a young lady online and she's like, I was no contact with my mom for years. And then I decided to unblock her, and she sends me a text on my birthday. And then the mother starts going in on her yet again on your day of your birth, the day that you would always remember your mother, because that's how you got here. We all came from a mother, right? And she allowed her that space, and the mother decided to try to berate her and bring her down. You haven't had conversations with your child in years, and the first thing you want to do is go back to the same old behavior, and you want to cuss your daughter out. Think about that from the other perspective. You have gone, your person in your life has gone no contact with you, and instead of you trying to say, listen, I know things was rough, I know times were hard, I know I didn't make the best decision and didn't say the right things, you actually could have had a leeway to use that opportunity to come into the door and say, I'm going to do right by you. Let me make sure that you know that you're loved. Let me make sure that you know that I've been thinking about you and I care about you, and let's fix this. You took the opportunity to tear your child down yet one more time. And these are stories that are happening all of the time. Therapists are not all of a sudden telling people to go no contact as if it's a new phenomenon. People have gone no contact for centuries. Basically, people have stopped talking to their families, their friends forever and a day. But now there's a term called no contact, and that's what's got people in their feelings about it. Therapists have always said if you're in a situation where you feel like you're unsafe, if you're in a situation where you feel like your mental health is taking a hit, why would you continue to stay in that situation? People are now recognizing that they don't have to be in people's physical space. Thus, the term no contact was even made. But people have been not talking to their family for years. There are family members that are in my family I haven't spoken to in years. One could say we're on no contact. One could also say we just don't keep up with each other. The point of it is that you have to do what is best for you. And again, I say, if that is selfishly motivated, if people think that that is so selfish and now it's hurting the people who have caused harm, why are we not dealing with the people that are causing harm? Let me just say this. Like I did when I went to therapy, my objective was to point the finger out. Therapy became a mirror that pointed the finger back. And then I no longer, after time, wanted to fix the people that hurt me. Over time, I didn't need to fix the people that did whatever. Over time, I became allowing God to be the healing. And I also operated from a place that I needed to have peace, even if somebody never said they were sorry. I had to live in that forgiving state because forgiveness is for me. It wasn't for them. So forgiving them freed me. So now I can see them when I go to my small town to visit and say hello and say goodbye and keep it pushing. Now I can go to a family function, and if I choose to go, because I still don't go to stuff as much as I probably should, but it's because it's my choice. But these are things that I have decided. These are things that I have done. I keep those people around that I am choosing to keep around for the choices that make sense. And there are some people that are even in the family that even though I've made amends, or when I say made amends, I've made amends with everyone, whether I say something to them or not. But there are just some people that I just will not give them access. They have tried. There's one in particular that has tried different avenues, different ways, and it's a no for me. It's a no. And although the other people have gotten access and some people haven't, it's also a choice. It's also a choice. And I'm choosing myself every single day, teaching my kids how to also care for others, give unto others, do for others, but also never treat other people better than you treat yourself. Take care of yourself. Speak up for yourself. Allow your life to lead with dignity and care, and then expect the same from other people. And when people show you the first time, believe them. You don't got to go through the merry-go-round of relationships for years and years. You're going through the same thing. It's almost like, again, when you talk about being a PK, in the Bible, it talks about, again, the children of Israel wandering around for 40 years, a distance that they could have done in days. It took them 40 years because it kept going around in circles, going around in circles. Some people are doing that every single day in their life. They're going around in circles with the same folks. You're in a marriage, you know you ain't got no business in. You weren't supposed to go into it in the beginning, but you let love, and I loved him. I loved him so much to allow you to go into that marriage. You get into that marriage, the marriage is not good. It's disrespectful. It's built upon the wrong foundations, but you stay in it because it's comfortable. And so then you've wasted all these times. When you finally get divorced, you're like, you know what? I should have did this a long time ago. But you knew that, but you stayed because, again, you have to continue giving access because people think that if you separate yourself from them, that you're not forgiving, when you have to learn that you can still forgive, but take away your access. Everybody shouldn't have access to you. Everybody shouldn't have access to your resources. This is the reason why even in content creation, a lot of people who they won't even support your business, right? I talked about this week. Instagram allows you to see how many people have liked your stuff. Like look at the people specifically. Like look at your friends. Go into your thing, type in their name. Like go into your Instagram, type their name. Then you can go to the the little dots at the top, and then you can see like how much they've interacted with your content. These are the same people who will never interact with your content. They will never like it. They don't comment. They don't reshare your stuff. They never share. They never do those things, but they'll say, hey, you going to that such and such concert? Did you get tickets? Can I be your plus? Can I go to this? Can I go to that? And never share your stuff. They want access to you, but they don't ever want to do and reciprocate. They want it to be one-sided. As long as they're benefiting from the relationship, then it's good. But when they no longer can benefit, now it's a problem. This is why I say sometimes when you're dealing with your mental health and your wellness, I know this from example, you may need to retreat before you can go back into the battle. And maybe you're tired of battling. Maybe you retreat and say, I'm going no contact, but I'm going to be the best version for myself. And at some point I may see them. And my thing is, you'll know that it doesn't bother you when you see them. You're not like, oh Lord, here we go. Right? When you get to that point, then you know that you're healed. Now, even in that, you still are never going to forget what they said. You're never going to forget what they did. They're never going to forget what you said. They're never going to forget what you did. Again, I say, when I was in therapy, I was pointing out, the mirror popped back at me, and I said, okay. Now, it wasn't easy to accept. It wasn't easy to say, well, you kind of contributed that. You aggravated it. You elevated it. You didn't say the right thing. You were being mean. You disrespectful. Like, I had to do all those things. But now that I have, I can choose who gets access. And with that also means access to my children, which is crazy because there are some people who, again, they think that I'm keeping my kids away from people, but to a certain degree, you don't get to have access to me, and then you think you're going to mistreat my kids either, right? You're not going to say things and be rude to them. And people say, well, I would never do that to the children. I would never. But the way you act, the way that you carry yourself around them, and how you try to separate them out from other people, all of those things take a huge play into things. Like, those things are real. And again, you might say, well, maybe that's from your perspective. My perspective is not new. This is not new. This is not something where it's only me ever having this happen. These are things that actually do happen. And because we want to put our blind eye, we want to quiet on the creek when it comes to certain things that's happening, then that's what happens. Now that we've had that conversation, I also want to just give you a few tips that I have learned from my own therapist. Yes, I too am in therapy. And again, therapy is not supposed to be something that you're into for the rest of your life, every single day of the year. It's not that. Sometimes you go through therapy for seasons of your life, and the season that I'm in, I am enjoying my therapy sessions. My therapist is straight to the cuff. This is my first Black male therapist. All of my other therapists have been some variations of white women. One had an Asian woman, white men. I've had them all. So this is my first Black male therapist, which I can appreciate, because when it comes to the perspective of, like, anytime I'm talking about my relationship, he can give me insight, being a Black man, to understand my own Black man a little bit better. It's been great. But he is not cutting any corners, which I really do appreciate. And one thing that I've learned from being in therapy is the biggest thing that I have to continue doing is I am always outsourcing everything out, meaning I am doing the mom thing, I'm doing the content creation thing, I am doing the wife thing, I'm doing all these things. And the biggest lessons that I'm learning is to take time for myself, to care for myself. What do I love outside of all those things? Like me, I like solitude. So maybe going to a bookstore, doing those activities, those first set of activities that I really do enjoy, and not making excuses for it. Not making excuses that I actually love these things. Not making excuses that, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Because although these things may be some things I do need to do, there are plenty of times for me to do the things that need to be done for myself. And learning that it's a balance and being okay with that. And when I'm not putting enough and not filling my cup up first, right? Because I am giving out so much. But when I'm not filling up my cup first, I feel it. I see it. I see it in the way that it shows up in my body, the way that I care for myself, the way that I think about myself. So yeah, those are the biggest lessons that I'm learning. And I'm learning to apply them, because it's one thing to know it. Like, I know about self-care. Self-care literally has saved my life. When I was having my children and I was waddling and drowning in postpartum depression, learning how to self-care and take care of myself, and letting other people take care of things that I felt like it had to come from me. Because if it didn't come from me, then I was a bad mom. And if I didn't struggle, I'm a bad mom, which leads me to my last conversation. I've talked about this before. We talk about those things when we talk about, hear people online talking about the soft life, the soft life, the soft life. And people get so enraged about that. The soft life means different things for other people. For instance, my kids are old enough to take an Uber, and sometimes me stressing myself out trying to be at the businesses that I need to be at. My husband we have 3 kids. 2 of them are eligible to be on Uber, and maybe putting them on an Uber instead of stressing myself out about trying to get from one side of the city to the other is a form of self-care. So then therefore me doing that may seem like, oh, it is a privilege to be able to do that, right? Because you have to have the money. There is that part. But the soft life could be somebody coming to my home and doing my hair, right? Because I don't want to sit in a salon for 20, 11 times, hours in a day. Soft life could be having my groceries delivered to me. Soft life could be, I've seen people have masseuses come to their home and give them massage in the comfort of their home because they're the most comfortable there. These are things that can be considered a soft life. And people say that, oh, if you're in a soft life, and if you're doing that, are you really a mom? Are you really? Because it's like struggle should not be synonymous to having a certain thing going on in your life. If you have the ability, it's a privilege to have those abilities, 1000%. But if you have the ability, there's nothing also wrong with you taking on those things and doing the things that make you happy. So again, I say you can have the life that you want if you got to work hard to get it. And once you have it, don't let anybody try to talk you out of it just because it doesn't fit their stereotype. There's a young lady that I follow on social media. I love her, right? And I'm not going about, oh, her life is so perfect, because I know it's not. She has 3 kids just like I do. So I can already imagine her house, and her kids are younger than mine. So she's still in the beginning trenches. Like she's in that middle trench where the kids are, they're able to go to the bathroom by themselves, but they still need her guidance on a lot of things. But even with all that, she gets out and she does all her things that she does because she has a team, right? And even having a team is considered soft life. She has a nanny. She has her parents who will come and help her with their kids. Her husband travels. She travels. Like these are things that are considered soft, but these are also things that she enjoys. And it allows her to pour back into herself. I think the week before Mother's Day, that particular young lady that I'm thinking about, she went and got a hotel for the entire weekend. And she stayed in that hotel and enjoyed the quietness. She enjoyed the food. She enjoyed the relaxation. And some people will be like, oh, she's just showing off. Listen, it's a privilege to be able to do those things, because if your money is funny, you can't do none of that. You can't even get a quiet room in the corner. Ask me how I know, right? Because money ain't always been great around here. We had to work at that. But what I say is this. Those are soft life things that she needs, that is going to fill her cup, because she's doing a lot. So instead of me hating, I need to get my weight up if that's something that I desire to do. Now, I actually can do it too. But the point is that soft life means different things for some people. Like having food that's already pre-made and then having it meal prepped and having it delivered to your home. That's a part of a soft life. Because anything that I don't have to do is going to make my life a little easier. I'm okay with doing it because I don't have to struggle. And a lot of people, again, they think that the struggle means that you're like, the goat at doing it. But the reality of it is that people who struggle with doing things wanted to have the help. They wanted to have somebody helping them prep meals. They wanted some help with their kids. They wanted help with transportation. They wanted help with food shopping. These are all things that we are now realizing is not an issue with us. So I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. I will be back, Lord's willing, next week. I hope that you do one thing. I say this every time we end. Please find one activity to do this weekend that is for you. Has nothing to do with your title, has nothing to do with whatever you have on your plate. And errands are not just a form of self-care. Like sometimes errands are just errands. What makes them, when I do an errand run, a point of self-care is if I can do it quietly while listening to my own music and also getting me a sweet treat. If those things ain't happening, that's not a form of self-care. It's just me running errands. So again, outside of errands, please find something that is exclusively for you. Whether it's helping you with your time, regardless of whatever it may be, just find the time to do the things that resonate with you the most. Okay? So with that being said and done, I want you to have the most amazing weekend and prep for your week to whatever didn't work this week, make it work for next week. Okay? And I want you to have a great time. And thank you for listening to Conversations with Toi.
Thank you as always for joining me. And I know that even in the deepest or joyful conversations, that there's something we can learn and apply. Until next time, I hope that you are doing better. If not, we will be back to talk some more and handle it. Peace to you and yours. Stay grounded.